Hey everybody, we are back again. I pushed all the right buttons and it tells me that we're streaming, so I'm gonna just go with it, man. Hope you're having a good week and a good day and yeah, all that good stuff. We've got some good news and some bad news. Bad news is price increase, right? Price increase incoming from uh, glass suppliers. Good news is, I don't know. I forgot what the good news was. I guess the good news is you can just pass it along.
What else are you gonna do?
But anyway, if you're watching us on YouTube or something like that, why not just subscribe, Give us a thumbs up, like it, And you can also get this on audio, on podcast, pretty much anywhere that you get podcasts. You can search for us and find us there. So appreciate your being there. Um, yeah, so that's the topic for tonight. We're going to talk about this latest price increase that's coming. I got notice that it's at the end of the month. Um, the last day of the month, they're going to raise prices. I am right now I'm dealing with glass fab, Tim. So you must have got the same message I got.
Yep.
What did they say? 10 to 15%
Yeah. Hmm.
total increase, which
Yeah.
is not really that bad considering I think that the manufacturers are raising it like 30%,
Yeah.
something like that. So they're taking part of the hit. So that's,
They did last time too.
yeah, I remember that, So, I mean, that's charitable.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do you guys think about that?
Ours went into effect on the 15th here from a few of our suppliers already.
Is that
And
right?
it was up to 25% on certain goods.
Oh,
But if we get it quoted, we are getting pricing right now cheaper than the previous rate. In fact, almost 10 to 20% cheaper depending on what it is. Like we just got half-inch tempered quoted, uh, say like 700 or 800 square feet of it for a job, and it came in at 20% cheaper than what it was originally. So I think it's just signs of the times in the market that they can't even justify the increase right now, and they're sitting on product and need to move it. So
So are you saying that like if you just order it without getting it quoted, you're paying more than
yeah,
you get it
yeah,
quoted?
our price list, the book price is up as of the 15th, but if I have large quantity on a job, the price went significantly less than even the previous price. So there's
Okay.
product out there to move, at least here. The
Wow,
market's
that's
not
interesting.
that good right now, and they're willing to work and willing to move it. Even the fabrication rates, they're willing to drop. Our polishing and hole cutouts on that job, they dropped like 10% on.
And normally they never change that.
No, they've never changed that for us either. Like, and that's typically the case, but just even on this one, they
Yeah.
dropped the polishing rate for us. And it's just, you know, office walls
Mhm.
and patch fittings for locks, but they're desperate to move stuff. So
Well, yeah, it seems like that's a good solution or a good way to kind of offset that increase is just, you can reduce some fabrication costs to kind of keep that price from going up too much. I don't know how hot the market is right now. So I mean it's like I don't know how, I mean I can understand that there are tariffs and stuff like that. So I mean we were kind of expecting some fallout from that.
yeah,
But I don't know how busy it is out there. If it's not super busy, I mean, how are you gonna really raise prices like that? It's tricky.
it's not. And I think that's what it's the reflection on it. There's a big job. They're ready to move product and ready to go now. And
Hmm.
So they're happy to do it. And it's great for our, when we put it in our pricing calculator, does wonders to our bottom margin. When you look at the actual gross margin at the bottom of the job, it's
Right,
wonderful
because you're building your pricing based on
on book price.
book, right? Exactly. So if you can get it in a little lower than that, that's all gravy.
It's all gravy. Yeah.
So while we're on this topic, why don't you talk a little bit about how, you do your pricing? Now, you don't have to give up any secrets or anything, but what's your basic method for pricing?
Oh, I don't care. So our showers, typically stuff like that, we typically, rule of thumb, will at least double all our costs and then labor and stuff on top. We're looking for a 50 margin typically on that. And then any construction jobs, we want at least a 20 to, on a bigger job, 18 margin bottom line, up to a 22 to 25 margin at the end of the job.
So what's your method for calculating that?
Oh, we've
And,
just
because people mean different things when they say like we profit margin. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's not a markup, it's the actual margin, right?
right, right, exactly.
Yeah. So we've done it with different multipliers, whether it's like on the glass, whether it's 100% markup, or even on the hardware, whether it's a 60% markup. But then, carry for an admin fee or fuel surcharge, or, what mileage is on the vehicle, and work out all that. And then labor, how many labor hours, and then come out to what your actual cost is on the job versus what you're selling it for, and then work out what your margin is on it and what that multiplier is.
Hmm.
And if it's, 0.23, then we're kind of in that 23 margin. We're happy with that. That's kind of where we need to be to keep the lights on, have our overhead covered, and we know how many days we've allocated for the job, for the manpower, and that's a crew for that many days. At that margin, life is good. And that's how we kind of fill our quota for construction. And for showers, we use that as more of a service work, and it's higher turnover, higher volume, higher margin. So
So, wow. So 0.23, that's pretty rich, man. That's pretty fat, I mean, if you're doing it the way that I think. So I wish
it's
you
not like curtain wall where we're knocking out the same thing over and over, right?
yeah.
So it's like even our storefront stuff would be on the narrower side, like maybe like an 18, but like architectural type glass where we're doing,
Okay. All
a
right.
little more rich stuff. Yeah,
I hear what you're saying. Now you're coming at it from a different direction than what I was thinking. Okay, so
our
that makes a
market's
little more
also a little different here too.
right.
We don't have quite the influx of glazers that you do down south.
Right, right.
Chris,
What is what does
Are
point
you
two three
suggesting
mean?
that 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 your net profit at 23% is rich? That's high. Is that what I understood you to say?
At 23% for the margin,
Yeah.
that's what we need that on a typical job.
Right.
That is a
Let's
markup.
can we start simple? Let's say door and line panel, right? I mean, it's
Well,
door
that's
and
not
line.
shower work. That showers are
Right,
totally different.
All right.
right. Let's start with showers before we go into commercial. I think everyone would want to probably do that unless I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
We're
Yeah,
the shower group,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I use two methods because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Quality Enclosures has a software. If anyone is familiar with that software, you can create the shower enclosure and it'll spit out a retail price. I use that conveniently to just give me a retail price and then I take a discount on that. So for example, um, if I submit it to a fabrication, I'm going to get that cost back at $1,000, let's say, or the cost for whatever that shower is. I do a three times multiplier generally, and then I give a discount on that. So I'll do a 3 times multiplier. So it's actually 3.215. So I do a 3.215 multiplier. So it's 3,200 retail. And then I'll give if it's a builder or if it's a retail customer, I'll give them a 20% discount or a 30% discount off that, which then, moves it from, I'll tell you, so let's say 3,200 times point eight.
Mhm.
That's 2,500. So it's a 2.5 multiplier essentially. Is generally where I'm at for a retail customer. Do you do it that same way?
No, because that's not accounting for any labor.
No, it's not, but it counts for a really quick quote for me to send out.
Oh, yeah, no, we like for our showers, we do it all through Smart Glazer. So we already have our labor and everything panned out.
Right, but okay, so it's the same thing, right? I mean, I essentially account for that in my in my price, right? My
That's what the
multiplier just
formula
accounts for
does, right? The
Yeah,
formula
right.
does make,
it's back of the napkin math. Yeah.
No,
well, I
it's
don't
not.
know. It's good. It's good conversation.
Yeah, it's not back of the napkin math. I mean, I can go through my labor and I mean, I know, it's going to take my guys 2 hours to do this, and it's going to take them an extra time to do this and an hour drive for this. But I know at the end of the day, what that cost is. And so it's easier for me, I don't use Smart Laser, but it's easier for me to give a multiplier for vast majority of showers and then discount off that multiplier versus having to calculate labor on every single shower and parts and material, right?
Yeah.
So I'm probably closer to what you do. We take our cost, the vendor's charging me for glass, hardware, and then there's an energy surcharge associated with that. So I typically take my cost, I'll multiply our tax rate, add it to that, and then I multiply by 3. Okay. That's what I'll sell it to a one-off too. If it's a frequent builder, somebody that sends me a lot of business, I'll deduct this energy surcharge. Okay, so say if just for hypothetical reasons, say the energy surcharge was $100. I'm not, there's $300 they're saving because I don't multiply that by 3, but I add it back in. So I take the cost of goods sold less the energy surcharge. I multiply that number by 3 and then add the 100 back in. So you're giving them a little bit of a break. I don't give them a hell of a lot of break because a lot of these builders hold your money for 30, 40 days, whereas one-offs, I require a 50% deposit and payment in full on the day. But what I do pretty much in every case is then once we do that job, and I'll track the labor, we consistently average 45 to 50% net profit on that shower. Unless a panel, we break it or, we got to go back. But so if you go in, you say, I sold it for 3,000, it took the guys 2 hours at our true labor rate, which is whatever it is, minus your cost of goods sold, minus the, little bit of money you had in admin to order it, to check it in, et cetera. We're netting typically 45, percent, sometimes 50% on every job, which has worked for all these years. I mean, obviously there's times you have to tweak with that. If somebody's pressing you a little bit, but
When does the formula not work? Are there jobs
that's a great question. When it doesn't work, when somebody says, I have a little 30,
that make it more
42 inch
complicated
to
use that formula?
And it costs me, and that my cost of glass is $200. That's when it doesn't work. You have to then you have to kind of like, I'm 30 minutes away. It's going to take at least an hour to put that in. Then you tweak with it. What I described previously was just a general rule of thumb on how I priced that, and it has worked and continued to be profitable for me in that regard. But you're right. There are always instances where you got to tweak that a little bit.
Yeah, and the solution for that is minimums. It's just having a minimum job.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we've always done is said, yeah, we're not coming out for less than $1,000 or
So
$2,000 or whatever that is, you know.
does anyone, so great. Does anyone do minimums, right? Like I've got lots of retail, lots, I mean, whatever the number is, retail customers who, you know, maybe it's a steam or it's just an opening, it's just a door opening and it's a 30-inch by 80, you
Mhm.
know. I mean, using that multiplier, maybe it would only be a $900, $1,000 install. Would anyone not do that job?
I mean, I've found for me like $1,000 was always worth going out for, you know. So yeah, I mean, if it comes up, you know, if the math adds up to saying like it's only going to be $800, I'd say, well, you know, we've got $1,000 minimum. And then some people don't like that. But most, you know, most of our clientele is like, okay, that's reasonable. You know, they get it. Yeah, you know, you gotta, you know, and they want you to do the work, you know, and that sort of a thing. So that's how I've always solved that issue. But you know, when I first got started, it was suggested just pretty much what Mike was saying there is like take your materials and multiply it times three. And if you do that, you'll probably be, you know, right in the ballpark. And that, you know, you'll probably be profitable. And I think that is a pretty good rule of thumb. Now, the pricing formula that I started using was what I when I picked up from Keith Dobman. Now, I wish he was on this call so he could like explain that. He's explained this before on the call. And it's kind of it's a similar thing to like a multiplier, like a factor, but it's kind of the reverse. You're coming at it kind of backwards, and so it's what you're doing is you're dividing by a decimal. So it's actually like two. It's like dividing a divisor. It makes kind of a multiple, but it's like super accurate. You can really dial it in. And so it's like you take, like for me, I'll take you know, 0.28, which is really pretty fat. The bigger that number is, actually, the smaller um, the profit margin is. So it's kind of backwards. So like when Ryan was saying like 2.3, I was like, oh man, that's huge, you know, because at like 2.8, that's pretty like it's really rich. And sometimes I have to back it off to like 0.3, you know, or 0.31 or something like that. But the way it works is like you take your number, your materials, and you divide it by that number, and
Right.
it's
So
really
let's
I found it to be a really accurate way to quote
He
things.
showed me that too. We've worked on that, and that's how we've reversed our.
It took me like 3 or 4 tries before I
Yeah.
could get my head because it's so like kind of backwards, you know. But once I got it, it's like, oh yeah, dude, this is it. And you can adjust it, right? If you've got different kinds of jobs where it's like the material's kind of higher and like a great example of this is like a Cambridge. The materials are like really high and it takes like almost no labor. So
Yeah.
if you use that formula, you end up with a super high price. It's just like it's not really reasonable. So you
That's a
have to
fair
kind
point.
of dial it back for something like that.
Right. So you need different multipliers or dividers
Yeah.
for different showers, which is what my point was. So what about steam showers, let's say, right? Do we do those differently?
Not I mean not for me a steam shower would be right in that pocket.
I mean, steam showers definitely more labor, more, more intensive in terms of templating, right? More room for error, right? Do you, do, you know, does everyone price a steam shower the same way, the same formula they would price a door and line panel?
I do.
And
Yeah,
I
I
do.
always did.
Yeah,
In
I do.
general, I do. Obviously each job, if it's some huge steam shower and it's going to take the guys 5 hours to do, that plays on my mind. But I start with that 3 times, and then I look at it and think, does it need a little bit more labor associated with it?
I charge. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I charge 2 hours per panel. I don't care what it is. It could be a little tiny little dinky one. It's 2 hours a panel. It includes my drive time, screws, everything in there. It includes it all. You know, showers online is not free. Someone got to pay for that too.
Yeah.
So got to pay for that. There's overhead. I mean, we got every morning all 5 trucks get filled up almost every morning.
Yeah.
But what happens if it's if an oversized panel? Does a 20 by 80 inch panel cost the same as a 48 by 80?
Well, here's the thing, it'll average out.
40 by 80. I mean,
Right. So like if you're using like for instance Adrian's method, like let's say that. If he's charging the same amount for every panel as far as labor goes, it's going to average itself out, right?
yeah,
Yeah, you're going to have a big panel it's going to take 4 guys to put in now and then.
yeah.
But then you're also going to have these tiny little panels that like one guy, you barely need one guy to do it,
Yeah.
So
I mean,
over
I charge.
time those things should balance out, right?
Yeah, for that little panel, like you're saying, a little panel, I charge a minimum of $500, 2 guys to go put it in. I mean, yeah, that's not your 2 hour per guy, but I got a $500 plus the material. I'm like, for a little panel, I'm at about $1,200-1,300 install. I mean, it just takes time. It is what it is. Now,
Hey, Daniel has an opinion.
cameras, I charge
What's
$1,000
your
bucks.
opinion, Daniel? Don't be sneaking into the chat. Just putting stuff in there.
Dude, my mouth is stuffed with food right now. I can't be on here.
All right, I'm going to circle back to you though later because I want to hear what you have to say. Daniel thinks we're leaving money on the table, man.
I
And
meant
I
not you
like.
guys. We're leaving money on the
Oh, you
table, not
are.
you
Oh,
guys.
okay, yeah.
I'm about to jack my damn
No, I thought
prices
you were
up
going to
after hearing this.
say. I thought you were going to tell us that, man. We're blowing it. No, it's like, and I like Mike's approach also about like starting at like starting high, and then if you want to back off a little bit, you can. If you need to, um, I really, because you can never tell somebody, all right, it's going to be $2,000 when they say, okay, oh, I meant it's going to be 2,200. I mean, that's never gonna work, not in a million years. But if you tell them, hey, it's gonna be 2,200, and you end up backing off to 2,000, I mean, you can do that all day long, and people are stoked when you do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's like to me, it always makes sense to lead with like your best price, and when I mean your best price, I mean your best price, right? The price that's best for you. And man, because things get busy and and if you can't do every job, then you want to be getting top dollar for every job you do.
I think you have to keep in mind. I don't know how you quantify what I'm going to say, but you can't get hurt if you scratch a piece of glass, and you got to go out and get another, a piece of hardware. So I guess my point is you have to price this that if, even obviously we all strive to be efficient on the install, to not make any mistakes on the templating phase of this. And over time, that's going to work out and you should be profitable. At least we are at 3 times. But if my guys bang a piece of glass going up the steps and they knock the corner off of it, or, God forbid it explodes and we got to go back, I'm still not willing to, we're taking all the risk. I don't want to take so much risk that I'm upside down on that job because one panel got damaged. Even if a panel gets damaged and I got to redo it, I'm not going to get upside down.
Yeah.
I might, obviously my profit margin might shrink down to 25%, but I'm not losing my rear end because of that. I mean, obviously we've all had, we could all sit here for days and talk about some of the catastrophes, but what's worked for me, as I should say, is that mentality over and over and over again over the last 21 years has let me survive, even given some of the mistakes and damages and all that other kind of stuff that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something I see a mistake I've seen so many companies make time and time again, whether it's the guy starting out trying to leave a successful company on his own or just trying to survive with competition, is they price jobs with no room for mistakes.
Yeah.
And they just assume everything's going to go right. and they try to grow their business and they get eaten alive trying to be the best guy for the best service and serve their community. But because their prices were to please the were best for the customer, not best for themselves, like Chris said, like people, you have to price every job as if you might make a mistake on one or two pieces, and you won't have to eat into your profit or tell the guys you can't cut their check this week or don't cash your check for a few days. I've lived in these scenarios in these companies where it wasn't for anyone's wrongdoing that there wasn't free floating cash. It's just too many mistakes in a row, left no profit available to people. And definitely the best advice for anyone that isn't doing it. Look at your prices and do you have the cost for mistake in your next job? If not, yeah, you're leaving money on the table. Start talking to your peers about what you do about that for sure.
Yeah, and I've been the guy. I mean, I've been the guy making those mistakes, too many mistakes in a row. I mean, it's like I remember one time where I was like, dude, if I was an employee, I'd fire me right now, man. I can't believe I've screwed up like 5 jobs in a row. And just I don't know what was happening. It was just like, you get into a streak, man, and it sucks. It's like I'm the one measuring them and I'm screwing everything up. That can happen. I mean, if it happens for too long, you go out of business. I guess maybe that's why I'm out of business. But but
I would,
you have to account for all that, man. Glass breaks, man. I started building in just a 10% margin just for breakage, right? Figure like, yeah, let's assume 10% of the glass is going to break, get scratched, we're going to have to pay for it. Well, hopefully, that's it's not going to be that,
but
but if it's like 2 or 3%, you get to keep that other, 7 or 8%.
but most of the time you work solo, don't you, on your jobs?
Yeah, I do now.
Yeah, so we always send two guys, and that gives us, all these guys that are do solo ones by yourselves. I mean, it's hard to believe that they don't have a chip or they a remake they got to do because oops, I couldn't see that corner coming down, whatever. That's kind of and then I see some of these guys not using suction cup. Like, come on, there has to be an issue there. You're breaking a piece of glass not using cup. Come on, you know.
I don't know about not using a cup. That's
So I love my cups, man. I got yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I never had problems when it was just me doing it. It was always, as far as the install, it's like,
Yeah, we're pretty careful. My young guy that I have working for me, I'm fortunate to have older generation still here, so they teach them. We still taught how to carry glass, how to do it right. We rarely have anything that breaks on us. It rarely happens. Rare.
this episode of the podcast is brought to you by GlassGadget.com. Showcase Innovations creates tools that help shower door installers be more efficient and save time. Check out GlassGadget.com for more information.
Just the way you carry it, handle it. I mean, yeah. I see some guys, they like to carry it like they're carrying a piece of plywood. It's not the same. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, and over time that should get better and better, really.
Yeah. Yeah. We
So does this formula still work for like railing jobs?
Yeah, it
Glass
works for
railing.
everything. That's the great thing about it. I mean, it works like across the board for like whatever you're doing. Because it works on an average, right? I mean, you're gonna do better on some jobs than others. On some jobs, it's like you kill it. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we just made that much money on that job. It's unbelievable. And then sometimes it's like, oh man, we just kind of scraped by on that one. But it's like the beauty of it is that it's so consistent and it's so fast and it's so like consistent. Consistency really is the number one thing that it's like everything averages out. And then you can always tweak it, right? You can always like review and see like, well, how are we doing? And it's easy to change just like one decimal point. you can lower it just a little bit, or you
I
can,
like doing. That's why I like doing like that too. Like we guys are
right?
talking about. Yeah.
And then you can take it also case by case. If you've got a contract you've done a ton of work for, or if it's something again like where materials are just through the roof, and it's just like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to use this formula because the materials are like 5 times what it normally costs. I mean, like let's say you're installing art glass, like something that's been custom etched with like artwork on it. Now that you got a piece of glass that costs $5,000, instead of like 300. Well, I mean, you can't use that formula. It's like there's no way. I mean, you're going to have to charge more than you normally would because, like Mike's saying, it's like you almost have to charge at least what that piece of glass costs to install it, right? Because
Yeah.
if you break it, you don't want to be out of pocket on it. But yeah, so there's some exceptions and stuff.
What about mirror? How do people price mirror?
I found mirrors like easy to do by the square foot.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of an exception to that. I'd always just do mirror like by the square foot.
You know what, Saul?
Would you cut your
When I first got into the business, there was a vendor from one of my where I buy glass, and he'd been around the business for a lot of years, and he recognized that I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground, and he said, "How are you pricing?" I didn't have any idea, and he said a rule of thumb was he would take that cost of say a sheet of mirror and multiply it by 10%, which would cover waste, right? And add 10% to that my cost, and then multiply it by 3,
Okay.
and then sell it by the square foot that way. I've when I first started, there was 5 or 6 competitors in the area, and that formula worked. I think he told the same formula to everybody, but over the years that's held true for the most part. You tweak it a little bit, and I do the same thing with plate, and double strength, for instance. Seems to have worked for us though.
Yeah, and another thing along those lines is so I learned from a contractor, a friend of mine, that he said, look, when I give somebody an invoice, I don't break down what costs what. It's just like this is the price.
Yep.
You show sales tax if you have to show sales tax, right? But other than that, it's like it's my secret how I priced it. And then if ever a customer asks me, hey, I need to know just because for my books or whatever, the difference between what was labor and what was materials, I would always say, look, I'm not going to tell you. I mean, I can't really tell you that. I've got a formula that does that, or I tell them the computer does it, or whatever.
Yeah.
But rule of thumb is that like figure 1/3 of it's labor. And I think that's a pretty, like if you're taking your materials cost, I'm multiplying it by 3, that's probably about right. It's about 1/3 materials, it's about 1/3 labor, and it's about 1/3 everything else, overhead and all that. So I mean, it's like I think that's a pretty, on the average, a pretty fair way to break it down.
Yeah.
We do ours like you guys were mentioning, Keith, and then like you divide it by a certain amount. We have a particular margin that we like to work off of as far as materials goes when it comes to shower doors and heavy glass. So that's how we're doing it. We're dividing it by whatever we want our margin to be, and we have a certain margin for builders and a certain margin for homeowners. And then we can tweak it here and there from that. And then the labor, we have kind of set pricing standards for builders and homeowners for door and panels, single doors, and things like that. And we can play with that however we want, depending on where it's at, how far it takes to get to the job, and all of those sorts of things. And then the mirror stuff, what's a square foot pricing, but we have to be careful that we're not going out for too little, because that's dangerous when we still deal with homeowners, and if they want just one small vanity mirror, it's like they have to, you kind of got to figure it out. We got to figure it out. Like, we don't necessarily tell too many people no, but we do tell some people no. But if they want a 42 by 42 inch vanity mirror and just stick it on the backsplash, and you're gonna, we can't tell them $1,000 for that.
Yeah, you can.
That
You
well,
can
we
tell them
can,
that. You
but
can tell them whatever you
we
want. I mean,
we
it's
we
better
can
than
definitely
saying
tell them
no.
that, but we might as well tell them no. We might as well just tell them no at that point. It just doesn't make sense to pay $1,000 for
Well,
something you could go
they,
buy.
yeah, my experience is that because I told someone this today.
Hmm.
Today I said, yeah, I've got $1,000 job
Yeah.
minimum. So it's like
Well,
it's the same as saying no.
yeah, yeah. As I was gonna say, it's the same
But
as saying no.
now and
Like,
then they say, oh, okay, if that's what it's going to be.
yeah. Well, I mean,
They
we just
do.
advise them, like, hey, man, it's going to cost, this is what the mirror costs, but we're not going to come out for anything less than this. It maybe like $250, but it's going to have to be when we're driving by. We can't spend more than 10 minutes on the job, like,
Dude, that's way too complicated, man.
yeah,
That's way too
yeah.
complicated.
So like, it's got to work into our schedule. We can't be there for more than 10 minutes. Like, give us the size you want, send us a picture or something like that. And, if we can go in and out of a house for 5-10 minutes, stick a mirror on the wall with some mastic, and then roll on to our next stop that we're gonna, it's, I don't know,
Yeah,
pays for the gas, I guess.
yeah.
It's a quick $10,
You're in the neighborhood anyway,
quick $250 for 10 minutes, and you're driving right by it. You might as well. So, but other than that, we get into trouble with that a lot because we do mirrors and we deal with homeowners and contractors. So it's like, how little do you want to go for? And well, hell, are we driving by it, or can we just do it when we're driving by? Or just things like that.
You can also make your minimum like $500.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like I think it's a good
Mhm.
idea to have like a job minimum, not like am I going to go out for $200? I'm going to go out for like 175. I mean, it's like to make up
Mhm.
your mind that like these are like systems that make you more efficient,
Mhm.
and you don't have to like you shouldn't be relitigating your decision every day, right? I mean, if that's something that you're doing, you're wasting way too much time and energy. You should have a policy for everything, really. But I mean, it's like if you can't have a policy for everything, at least have one for like the minimum amount of money you'll work for. I mean, that's a great place to
Absolutely.
start. And you can change it, right? I mean, you're not married to that for the rest of your life. You say $1,000 today, that doesn't mean you can't change it to 800 next week. You can change it as much as you want. But like have one, have that. Hey, I don't come out for less than $1,000. The more times I've said that, the easier it is to say it, the more I believe it, the less I'll get up off of it. It's like, oh yeah, dude, I'm not even gonna put my shoes on for less than $1,000. Forget about it.
Mhm.
Hey, sorry, I mean, I'm sure somebody will do it for you. I know no one's gonna go like without a shower door because like I didn't do their shower door. Someone else will do it for sure,
Mhm.
probably for less. But it's
Yeah.
like, and everybody's got a different model too, right? So we've got different clientele, we've got different you know, areas that we work in and all of that, to take into consideration. But I would highly recommend sitting down with, your team and deciding what's the minimum amount of money we're willing to go out for and really just stick by it. Even if it's $200, you know?
Our service guys were a minimum of $200.
Yeah, there you go.
So little broken window like DS or little single strength hack out. Even though it takes our guys 10, 20 minutes, $200 minimum. It's the way it is. I mean, we're not gonna can't keep on penny pinching for people because they want to, you know.
Yeah. Or else you're driving out for fifty
You want a
dollar
penny pinch and you're gonna
Hayden.
live in a penny pinch world, you're gonna be, struggling with the bummy ass trucks and stuff and instead of, having a nice upgrades, you know.
How
Who
do you
does?
guys go ahead, Sal?
No, who? So who will do a? Will anyone do a hardware change for a customer? It's not your
Yeah,
shower. They call and they want a hardware change.
yeah, I would. They're gonna pay for it though. they're gonna pay for it. It's not gonna be cheap. It's gonna be the same 2 hour per panel, same thing. It's gonna cost that plus the hardware. And then at the end, the hardware usually I'll probably make more money off the hardware because I'm gonna mark that up even more because it's gonna cost more to get separately than from a door package or something.
Yeah.
So it's the
People are
way.
used to paying a lot for hardware too.
Yeah,
You can mark your hardware up,
yeah, you can.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
guys ever? You guys ever like? Even though I say that I charge 2 hours minimum, for per panel. Now, if I'm at a house and there's multiple shower doors or a location, I won't do that. I'll figure out okay how long it's going to take us and the guys to do it, and I'll just like if it's for a contractor, I don't want to that's going to be a little too much for them. They'll run away from me. So I'll just figure out how long is it taking, and I'll put that in into play, and then this is another thing too. It's good to have good relationship with your sales reps because you call them up, hey man, I'm doing this job, I'm doing multiple shower doors. Hey, can I get a better pricing on my glass? So with that said, my sales rep that I deal with glass fab, he has a number for me. I can't go below this, and I'm like, all right, I can use it whenever I want, and so I do that.
that's nice.
So that's why like it's very important to get really friendly with your sales rep because when you do that, then they'll pretty much give you anything that you want. I mean, they'll yeah. So I have a number like with Starfire, I got a minimum number I can mess with. Now that's gonna go away after the freaking price increase, which I'm kind of mad about. But yeah, I mean, I'm paying really cheap on Starfire right now, really cheap,
Nice.
and so I've been doing a lot of Starfire, a lot more than I'm used to. But
Awesome.
then
How do you
again,
guys? Yeah.
but then again, my customers are not getting that full discount. I'm marketing it more than a discount because they're still getting a discount from what I normally pay. So then on top of that, I'm making that extra too. So you know,
What do you guys do to find out if you're competitive or not in your particular market and stuff like that? Other than listening to this podcast, how do you find out um, if you're competitive in your market or not?
I don't really pay attention to
I
that.
know some people that fake being customers, like they call their competition on a regular. They have a schedule that they call their competition to fake whatever size is, and then they make sure they are more or less than so they can eat away their market, whatever their goal is. While
Hey,
other people I know just wait for the customers to tell them. Like we just send
Yeah.
out so many bulk in mass so fast over text and with pictures that a lot of times we're receiving the pictures and the emails from the other companies just so that customer can get a quote. So we're just looking at the metrics and sending them our quote without trying to even go lower, just trying to sell on quality and why you should choose Versace over Joe's bag. And if we can convince you of that, great. If we can't, then I hope you love your price and your service you get from them. But we never competed on price, but to find out, customers usually came to tell us because it was very telling when more and more people would say, oh, we had a method every time we lose a job, no matter what, find out why. If they drop off, find out why. If they say no, find out why. Try to come at them in a very gracious way. So we're not like, why don't you choose us? But hey, just wanted to know we're always trying to improve our service and our processes. Why did you choose the competition? And we'll get 7 answers in a row that say it's because your price is too high. We know what the market is doing. If we get a few answers in a row that vary, then we understand some people just had a friend. My contractor was already suggesting this person and they forced me to go with it. So now we know, oh, that's the contractor we now need to get on the good sides of. Because if our customer was leaning towards us and was pushed the other direction from the builder, we just need to get into those builders' ears so they know that we're an option next time. So having that feedback loop is like proactive with the customers, looking at it, and then the dirtiest way is faking your customers, so your competition, and filling up their schedule with fake measure appointments, and then wasting their time, which is a tactic I know some people do, and why I build automation to fight it. It's shady.
Yep. True that. Yeah, and then,
Yeah.
uh, another
I mean, I'll get
another
started.
thing that about like what Adrian was just saying a minute ago about so now you get onto a big job And then like, so you're kind of changing your tactic a little bit. You're not charging, you're refiguring it. And it made me think about like Rob and just like how you do flow charts, right? You got a flow chart. Like someone calls in, you don't know who they are, you've never met them before. Your standard answer is it's going to be this much, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. But then there's like you've got these like if or and statements, like, oh, but if it's somebody who I do know, or it is a customer that I've had before, or if it's somebody who, it's a contractor that I've been trying to get, on the books for a while, then I'm going to change to that. Um,
Yeah.
but to Daniel's question, it's like I went to school to become a contractor because I had a friend who said, go to school and study for your contractor's license. It'll cost you a few $100 and they'll teach you how to like answer the questions right. And it'll be the best $300 you ever spent. So I took his advice and I did that. He was right. It worked. And I don't remember hardly anything that they taught me. But I do remember this one thing. They said if you get every job, your price is too low. I
Yeah.
mean, they told me that in
That
contractor school, man.
that's kind of how we do it. We feel it out, we kind of track what we lose a little bit and figure out some why we lost, like we kind of understand when we lost it because of the price, and we just kind of track that stuff and feel it out a little bit. And just try to pay attention to it. If we're not getting the jobs, then we know something's going on. If we always try to ask for the quotes when we're bidding, when we know we're bidding against somebody, somehow we'll try to get the quotes and pricing from the homeowners to just see where we're at. So like we know if we're competitive or not and where our numbers should be. So it kind of dictates to us a little bit how high we can go on our margins, and well, because you got to be competitive. You don't want to be. We don't want to be the cheapest. We don't want to be the most expensive. I mean, Keith would probably say we do want to be the most expensive, um, but which is fine too. Like, well, there's lots of times we are the most expensive, which is okay. Um, but that's how we do handle it. And then to the point for the multiple shower doors, I mean, our contractors know that we have a set minimum. Like we just did a house that had 10 shower doors in it, and so, but it's still the same damn pricing. It's the same price as if we were doing one for for all of them, because I mean, they already have a decent price to begin with, even for those jobs where they're doing one shower door. So it'll wash out in the long run, more
Yeah,
or
good
less.
for you, man. That's how you should do it. I totally support you on that. That's what I always did. They're hiring you because they want you to do it because they know you do good work, and this is what the
Yeah.
price is. I mean, you don't really need to start lowering your prices or
And
anything.
it's not an unfair price anyways either. I mean, it still takes the same amount of time. Just because you have 10 in there doesn't mean it takes less time. There's less travel involved, but that's our benefit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what you figured that into your pricing already, probably for your contractors and stuff. So
How does anybody price for travel? Like, is there, because we have some stuff coming up. It's always a weird thing to do for travel. Like, is something you can make a trip and get back in a day. Like, what do you charge? Like, how are you figuring out your drive time charge? Like, if you got one guy in a truck, two guys in a truck just to go do something, but it's a contractor that's willing to pay you to go drive 4 hours somewhere and go stick in a mirror, but they're willing to pay you to drive that far to go do it because they don't want to deal with finding somebody else. So how do you guys, or do any of you guys entertain that and mess with it?
Are you paying your guys to drive?
Yeah, hell yeah. Why
Then
they
then you're
wouldn't do it?
billing your guys to drive. Simple as that.
Yeah. I mean,
But
like, I don't mind. I like real numbers and that's all I know. So, I mean, I even asked my customer, like, hey, I don't do this much. Is $150 reasonable to charge per hour to have guys drive to this job site? Like, and he said, no, that's not unreasonable. So it's like, then feeling it out, like, what should you be charging for somebody to drive, by the hour to, so I don't know. And then obviously then there's the labor to do the job when they're there. And then also we make sure the like the markup and margin is way higher than normal in case there's, God forbid, a mistake on something that's that far away.
So my guys don't make any less per hour when they're driving versus when they're on site doing anything. And in fact, now we have wear and tear on the vehicle because it's in motion longer, plus the fuel surcharge. So we don't discount travel at all. It's just straight labor rate for both guys in the vehicle.
Yep.
So, and in fact, any of the, like, just rule of thumb, any of our showers, like, I understand the multiplier you guys are using, like the 3x and stuff, and we've done that as a rule of thumb on some projects, but our showers, for example, we have labor set in that we have, for example, let's just say an inline shower, panel and a door hinged off the wall. We have 10 hours of labor baked into that right off the hop. And if it's
10
hinged
hours
off,
to do a door line panel? What do you mean?
yes, sir. We have 10 hours of labor built into that. Because you got to unload the truck, we tape it in the shop, we hang it, and we pre-plan a warranty call if there was ever one. We're in business to make money. It's
Two
not
guys, 5 hours, right?
It's 2 guys, 5 hours. It's not a race to the bottom. And
Yep.
I invest money into my business and I need to recoup that. So
I do exact same way you do. I do 5 hours too.
yeah. And if it's hinged off a panel, then we go up to 12 hours. So 2 guys, 6 hours. So that's, yeah, we're always covering the labor. And so, and if you had travel, it's again, 2 guys, that same rate plus the travel time.
And your labor costs, you're actually factoring the actual labor cost, not a markup labor cost.
No, our marked up labor cost. So that's 120 per man per hour.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a marked up labor cost, right?
Yeah, because we got to cover our nut at the end of the month, right? So that's the overhead, keep the lights on, cover my salary.
Right. But you said you're adding that plus the materials.
Yeah, plus your material, plus you mark it up. Yeah.
I mean, I would think that would make your door and inline panel extremely expensive, right? Just labor at 10 hours is $1,200, right?
Yeah.
That's just labor that you're factoring in. Plus, let's say your door and line panel's $350, $400. So you're just in at $1,700, $1,800, and that's your cost. So you're saying you're going to charge more than that for a door and line panel?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ryan, what's your average cost on door inline, like
Average $2,700.
Fucking it. Well, that's Toronto, right? I mean, that's Canada. I don't know if I couldn't get that even close to here. I'm in Nashville. I can't get that.
I'm about 24, 20, almost 2,500 for a door inline.
Yeah. Where are you? Are we talking
We're in Northern California. Yeah, we're in Northern California. Yeah.
All right. California doesn't count either. Give me some other states.
Right.
Give me New York, California, or Canada.
It seems like once you get out of California.
Or Hawaii. Don't forget Hawaii.
Or Hawaii.
Anyone in the or Hawaii, or Australia. Anyone in the Midwest. Anyone in a normal area here.
Flyover country.
We're in a normal area, but I mean, I feel like we do ours a little different. You know, we have a target that we're trying to hit each month in volume, and if we hit it, if we get over our break even number by the amount we want, we're essentially hitting about a 40% net profit after. I mean, that's even after the owners are paid too for what they do. So I mean, that's kind of how we're doing ours. We have target sales goals, and if we hit it, we're hitting about a net 40% on our bottom line. So. And then we have our break-even number.
What would you sell a 58 by 80 door and line panel?
A whole lot less than these guys are selling it for.
I mean, me too. I'm a door line panel. I'm anywhere from $1,600 to $1,800.
That's about where we're at. So
that was like 10 years ago, maybe.
What does it cost? What does it cost you for a panel, like a door, just the glass?
Our cost is probably half to 60% less than that, at least.
The clear glass door, 28 inches by 80. What's the
cost? The door? Just the door?
The glass. Does it cost you $200?
Yeah.
What does it cost you? $200?
No, the door, just the door, but we're talking a door and line panel, right?
No, yeah, but I'm just asking you the question.
Yeah.
What do you pay for a piece?
Yeah, probably a couple $100, I'm sure.
Yeah.
For the door.
Okay. Yeah, so it's probably not that much different than what we pay for it.
You're just
We probably pay a little more.
We're probably paying for a door and panel. We're probably with hardware and everything. We're probably paying about $700 to $800 with hardware and
That's a
glass.
lot.
And
That's a
is
lot.
it?
Yeah, that's more than we pay
Yeah, that's
for
way
just
more than
clear
we pay.
glass.
Yeah.
I just bid one out right now. I just paid $380 for a door and panel with hardware.
Wow, that's a pretty good price.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Raise
I'm gonna
clear.
move to California because it sounds like
Yeah, gosh, sounds like
you know,
it may, huh?
yeah.
And then don't forget,
Sounds like
I have like four suppliers around me I can get glass from. So I was like
Yeah,
thinking, you guys, I don't know how many suppliers you guys have around you, but yeah, I mean,
that's true.
competition.
yeah. So
Mhm.
I could throw a freaking rock and hit one, you know?
So, I mean, maybe that's part of the deal too. Is like, I mean, because I know our numbers, the numbers that Sal was saying, like that's competitive in our market for, especially for contracting. That's pretty competitive, you know. And if
What
you're
are you
not around
charging
that
for a
range,
labor
you're not
rate?
for door and
What?
panel. For door and panel,
What are you billing out per hour for a labor rate?
I don't factor in my labor. I do the multiplier.
So you don't have like a posted labor rate at all for anything? Like what
If
do
if I
you like?
if I do something odd, I'll do 149 bucks an hour, right? If I
That's
do
good.
odds and ends. But when I'm doing showers, I just factor in the multiplier.
Yeah, right, exactly. But but if somebody asks you what's your billable rate, it's 149, which is
Right. The
good.
problem,
That's a good rate. I mean,
yeah,
but
yeah, but it's not a real number, right? I
no,
mean, it's
right. Not unless you're doing T&M. Then it did that
unless
Yeah.
unless I'm doing what?
time and materials.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, then it's
Sure.
for real. But yeah, I mean, there are probably guys in my area that do it for the price you're saying.
yeah.
There are guys there.
They are.
Yeah,
There is. I get outbid it. I mean, I got outbid a job the other day,
yeah,
$1,000. I'm like,
yeah. Just
have
because,
it, have
yeah,
it.
just because there's another shop in town that will do it for like a two-thirds of what I do it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that I can't still get. See, that's the thing that people don't really get in the industry, and that's something that
I,
I and other people have been trying to like kind of communicate and educate about. It's like just because there's somebody who's doing this for $1,500 doesn't mean that you have to do it or that you can't do it for $2,500. Just like Adrian just said. It's like, yeah, I just got outbid by $1,000 what today or yesterday,
yeah, it was
happens
last
all the
week. Yeah,
time, but
yeah, it
still
does.
he's getting his price.
Yeah,
So that's something, I mean, it sounds a little counterintuitive, right? But it's like there are people, there are different categories of customers.
Eh, yeah. And to top it off, this other company that outbid me $1,000, they're an hour away. So I'm like, what are they pricing? I mean, they're probably just not marking up their glass, just doing labor only. I swear, I hope their truck breaks down and they break a piece of glass on the way back. On the way.
You don't mean that.
Yeah, I do. 100% I do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
No, but I could do a door and panel if I wanted to. I can do it for 17, 1,800 bucks. That's what I'll do it, but I gotta do 3 or 4 of them a day to make up what I gotta make. I'd rather just do two and go home and call it good, you know?
Yeah.
That's it. I don't care about the volume. I mean, my break even every year is in June, and I'm already break even here, so I'm good, you know. So as a business, we're already past our break even now. So everything right now we're making, it's icing on the cake.
nice. Love that.
So you got to just charge a little extra, man.
It's hard.
So
It's hard at first. It's hard
it
to
is. It's hard, especially
you
like
get
having
used
guys.
to it though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it
You
is.
get used to it. After a while, it becomes like really natural. But at first, it's like, man, I feel like I'm asking way too much. And I'd
Yeah,
even like put it like I would use Showers Online and use it to do my quoting and stuff. And it took a long time to get that all dialed in to where you put in all your numbers and it just tells you a price, and then just give that to them. And it would like I'd put in my numbers and it would be like I'd be like, whoa, I'd be shocked by the number. I'd be like, oh man, how am I gonna? I don't want to say it, but I'll show it to them. Like write it down on a piece of paper and slide it across the table. And like, they'd be like, no, okay.
I let my reputation do my talking for me. They know.
Exactly.
They know. They know.
The higher the number, the better the customer too.
Hmm.
That's so true.
Yep. The Maserati and Versace and the top salons like Supercuts has chairs open right now at all hours from morning to night. You can walk in and get a haircut. And if that's the quality of cut you want and the service you want, you can get it. There will always be a truck in a truck that'll pull by with no license, that'll come and do your stuff and won't be there next year to wear your warranty when your door starts leaking and hanging. Who are they going to call? Someone who's still around, legit, has reputation. And if they chose that from the beginning, what we've learned is like they come back. The customers you want, as they experience the others, will come back to you as you maintain yourself to be the best of the best. And you will find yourself with a list of customers that are only the best because the rest of them stayed with Chuck in a truck and went to Supercuts, while the other ones knew that for a quality haircut and they need to get 2 months ahead at that salon line, and they will wait on that list and pay premium price, 10 times to 20 times for that Supercut price, because they are no longer go for the easy chair that's open. They go for the quality service they know they can trust, even if they have to book it ahead of time. And that's, I think, who we should all race to be, and not racing each other to the bottom where we all lose.
Yep, I love that. That is a great analogy.
Bingo.
Man, it reminds me of this story of this guy had a barbershop, a successful barbershop, and it was like, it was $10 for a haircut, And this other barber decided to move in right across the street, put up a sign that said, haircuts $5. So the old barber decided to change his sign, and he put up a sign that said, "We fix $5 haircut." So there you go, man. All right, you guys.
All right.
Thanks for coming, man.
Have a nice
Adios.
evening, man.
Good talk.
Have a good
talk.
night.
Good night.
Raise your prices. Stop being cheap.
Yeah.